And with my microphone on, you can maybe hear me welcome you to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. It's Wednesday, May 17th. And as I understand it, Madam Clerk, we have regrets from Councilor O'Meara. And I understand everybody else is either here or about to walk in. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Madam Clerk, there are none. Council, our only business tonight is to receive and endorse in principle the proposals that our staff and our consultants Deloitte have worked so hard on it. And we have a presentation by Julie Clark, the Director of Strategy, Policy and Communications, and Sraj Maan, the Manager of Corporate Strategy, and our consultants, Sarah Lewis and Andy Potter from Deloitte. Madam CAO, did you want to say anything to kick it off?
No, Mayor Burton. I think Julie Clark will handle the overview presentation.
All righty, thank you very much. Director Clark, we look forward to your presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. Tonight we are presenting the draft strategic plan for your consideration and your endorsement in principle. This work is the compilation of significant efforts to get feedback from the community, from Council, as well as staff. As a reminder, we have undertaken extensive community consultation. We did a phone and online survey, we conducted open houses, focus groups, pop-up consultations, and more. We also engaged Council several times, as well as staff leadership, and we reviewed public sector research. Our Deloitte partners have joined us tonight. They have analyzed all of these findings, and they've developed an initial draft plan for your review. So what we need from you tonight is to consider the options and endorse in principle the direction-setting elements of this plan. That's the vision, the mission, guiding principles, and the strategic priorities and objectives. The public will continue to be invited to provide their feedback on this. After today's meeting, Deloitte will develop the final draft plan. The difference is the next version is going to include all the actions and initiatives that will support this 4-year term of council, and it will include the key performance indicators. The complete draft plan will be presented at the June 19th council meeting. After that, there will be one further opportunity for the public to provide their feedback, and the final plan will be presented to council on July the 11th. That final plan will include the vision, mission, guiding principles, strategic priorities and objectives, the specific actions and initiatives underway, as well as, or to occur, as well as the key performance indicators. So with that, I am pleased to welcome Andy Potter and Sarah Lewis from Deloitte, who will lead us through the presentation on the strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Good evening, Your Worship, Mayor Burton, councillors, and other members of town administration. It's certainly, Sarah, and my pleasure to be standing up before you again this evening. I think, as Julie said, it's really important that it's really important to appreciate that this is the culmination of a significant amount of work and research and engagement, a large significant component of which you've been involved with yourselves. I remind you, I didn't bring my wig from the greenhouse, but most of you were there. The greenhouse session that we held with you was a very significant moment in the development of the draft plan that we're putting forward with you. And I think, coming out of that, what we took away was, at that time, your decision to prioritize 2 very significant areas: the fundamentally important concept of well-being, and then that triangulate of environmental, social, and economic sustainability. And I hope very much that you will see those themes coming through in the material that we're about to present. With that, I'll pass you over to my colleague, Sarah.
Thank you, Andy. In addition, I want to remind us all of our first time talking together where we had an overview of the purpose of the strategy for the town of Oakville, where we are setting a long-term vision and then use that vision to guide the work that council will be undertaking over the term of council. The framework that we're reviewing tonight, again, is based on a great deal of work. Comments shared by council at our last strategic planning session led to some shifts and changes from the original version, and so you see a more refined version before you tonight in response to those comments. I also want to note at the outset of the conversation that master plans, official plans, and other planning work that are done during the term of council will look to the decisions that we are making tonight or that are being made tonight by council to set their general direction. And so the direction of the strategic plan then informs the direction of all those other plans that are undertaken. So in terms of our process tonight, we'll first review the framework as a whole. So we'll look at the different options for the vision, mission statement, and the rest of the elements of the plan. And then we'll return to the options for the vision statement and discuss and aim to come to consensus on a vision statement to guide the town of Oakville. Then we'll do the same with the mission statement and the remainder of the strategic planning framework. So without further ado, we can begin our presentation and start talking about vision.
So just to refresh your memories as to what a vision statement is, the vision represents the town of Oakville's desired future state. We often refer to it as the North Star. It's a statement that really needs to be succinct, memorable, and intentional is always the preference with respect to a vision. The vision guides the rest of the strategy. Now, we present two options up here. I know they're succinct, which as I said is one of the objectives, but a lot of thought has actually gone into these words, and I'm going to ask Sarah to walk you through those words so you understand some of the deeper thinking that is behind them.
So if you'll recall, the last time we met, we went through some different options for a vision statement, and the preference overall was to maintain a short and succinct statement, which is also a good practice in terms of developing a vision statement. So there are two potential visions here, and both close with the words "for all." And these words represent the importance of ensuring that the diverse perspectives and needs of the community are reflected in the vision and the future state for the town. This was a strong theme throughout engagement, also from council, the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and you'll see that throughout all the elements of the plan that we are presenting tonight. And it is included in both options for that reason. The term community is used here. The vision statement that the town of Oakville has been using up to this point includes the term town. And so this is a bit of a shift from using the term town in the vision to using the term community in the vision. And there are a few reasons for that. It is an update, a bit of a different feeling than the vision that we're moving from. And it also prevents the name of the town of Oakville from being repeated by the term town also then in the vision. So if you see town of Oakville and then the vision, there's not that repetition. It's a little bit cleaner for that reason. The big difference here is thriving and vibrant. So the first option says is thriving, which reflects council's identification of well-being and sustainability as important parts of Oakville's future state. The thriving implies a healthy, growing community, one where green space and strong management support the growth of the community. The other option, vibrant, reflects the desire for Oakville's future state to be beautiful, active, full of life, a place of art and culture. It reflects the desire for a community where youth and young families feel at home. And we see in both of these words, there were strong themes from engagement that bring these terms forward, as well as from council's discussions. So we will now move on, and then we'll save comments and questions for when we return to the vision statement for a decision.
I'll just speak a little bit about the mission. As we've said, the vision is important as it sets the direction. of the strategy, but it's not standalone. And so, what is a mission statement? A mission statement is really the organization's reason for being. It reflects how the vision will be accomplished. Now, oftentimes in municipalities, we see the mission statement as being more reflective of how administration actually operates to achieve the vision, because it's the administration, obviously, that is charged with that responsibility. Whereas the vision, as I think we've been discussing, is often more community-focused or externally oriented. So again, Sarah will now take you through some of the elements of the choices that we've presented before you.
So for the two options of the mission statement, they use similar words and ideas. There is a focus on service, and this echoes the strategic objective of service excellence and similar guiding principle, and it demonstrates the town exists to serve the needs of residents. Council and administration both identified the need for responsible governance, including fiscal responsibility and overall a commitment to fill municipal responsibilities, good governance, public safety, and the delivery of public goods. Inclusivity is again here, a growing theme across all public sector governance. Creating an inclusive community creates a place that people love to live, raise their families, and become part of strong neighborhoods. With a growing and diverse community, we heard throughout engagement with council and the community that the need for inclusivity to be an important part of Oakville's operations. In the second option, the commitment to operate in a way that supports that three-legged stool we talked about in the greenhouse strategic planning session of environmental, social, and economic sustainability is integrated into the mission statement. So those are our two mission statement options. We'll now move on to guiding principles.
So the guiding principles share who we all are, who you are as council, administration, really need to operate. These principles shape daily decision-making for all groups and reflect the core values of the community. Guiding principles provide a reference point for council, perhaps when difficult choices present themselves.
I'll go through the guiding principles one by one. Leadership was a key outcome of the exercise, if you remember, in the greenhouse, where we were filling in the newspaper headlines. And part of council's vision for what the future might look like, if we were looking back over the term of council, would be that the town of Oakville was a leader. That the community strives to innovate and present a positive example amongst municipalities. Again, inclusivity is important in terms of a guiding principle to guide decisions at all levels of the community and at all levels of the town. Excellence. The town takes great pride in the quality of services available in Oakville, and residents expect high-quality services from the community as well. Sustainability. This theme, again, came throughout engagement. There's strong values of taking care of the environment and maintaining natural spaces in the community. And finally, and then quality of life. Oakville is a desirable place to live because of the strong quality of life in the community. And the town is a prosperous place and where quality of life is important to residents. And finally, fiscal responsibility. The town's strong fiscal position and sound decision-making are a core value of council and administration. And that came through in all of our discussions.
So now we'll speak to the strategic priorities. These are important because this is where we begin to connect the vision with action that will ultimately follow through into business planning and funding decisions. These 4 priorities will shape all of the outcomes that ultimately need to come from the plan and will need to be enacted through policy and obviously multiple layers of planning across all domains of town business.
The strategic priorities, there are 4. The first is managing growth, which you may well recognize. It was a strong theme in the engagements, and it's impossible to deny that Oakville is growing and will continue to grow at a fast rate. This priority will guide the transit system, infrastructure, and how the economy will develop in this environment of growth. The second strategic priority is community belonging. Another common engagement theme, how do we create a healthy community? This priority will guide programming and services, engagement activities, and planning for safe, connected communities that are attainable and meet daily needs. And this is also where concerns and considerations of housing may be located. Environmental sustainability reinforces the importance of green to Oakville, green space, and the ongoing work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, accountable government prioritizes financial considerations, the municipal workforce, and overall achieving the level of service excellence that Oakville expects and the municipality delivers. So now we'll move on to our strategic objectives. So associated with each of these pillars, there are strategic objectives, and each of these areas will, following council's approval, be connected with a set of actions and will inform the performance indicators. So we see under growth management, economic development, infrastructure, and transportation. So promoting employment growth and towards the long-term vibrancy of the local economy, ensuring infrastructure meets the growing needs of the community, and for transportation, balancing safety, mobility, and environmental goals. In community belonging, engaging residents, and providing programming and opportunities for all residents to participate and engage in community life, and complete communities. That means the design of the community satisfies those daily living needs for safe, connected communities and are attainable. Under environmental sustainability, the ever important green space, parks, and trails. And you only have to drive around Oakville to see how important these green spaces are to the community. They're very well taken care of and well used. Climate change mitigation and adaptation. The town continues to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that is an important priority for the community and also for council, based on our conversations to date. And finally, for accountable government, there's financial management, the long-term financial sustainability of the town, people management, making sure that the workforce is well supported, resourced, and engaged, and for service excellence, reviewing and continuously improving service delivery in the community. So now, in our final slide, we can see a bit of a preview of where we are heading by the end of the night. So we are aiming to have a completed vision, mission, guiding principles, strategic priorities, and strategic objectives.
So, Chair, Mayor Burton, we would now like to invite council to comment on the vision statements as presented with the context that Sarah provided. We will be taking all notes of your ideas and reflections, which clearly we'll work with staff to take into consideration as we finalize this. But as Director Clark indicated, we are looking for broad endorsement of each of these elements of the plan. So with that, I'd like to...
We'll be glad to do that. Could you just clarify first, did you want council to pick, these two two visions and these two missions? Did you want to collect comments and then come back with a final suggestion, or did you want council to pick those now?
I think it would be interesting to hear specific comments that council may have. Clearly, this one is somewhat easy because there's 2 words to discuss, unless there's others that people feel are more appropriate. And I think what we're hoping is through the feedback and the discussion, we will ascertain some consensus.
If you could just repeat what you said, I'm having trouble hearing you from...
I think what I would suggest in the context of the vision statement, where the choice is really one of 2 words, we'd like to hear council's comments on reflections on that. Of course, to the extent there's other feedback or ideas than people have, then that will come into the conversation. But our hope is that through listening to council's comments, we will naturally evolve to a consensus as to which one is preferred.
All right. Councillor Elgar is prepared to lead off. Councillor Elgar.
I thank you, Mayor Burton. And I've gone through what you presented last time, and I think your guiding principles, you're bang on. Your strategic objectives, you're bang on. So I thought, well, we can't be the only ones doing a vision statement and mission statement in this country. So I looked at quite a few vision statements, and I came up with one that I think encapsulates my feelings towards what we should be doing as a town. And it's the one from Halifax. And it states, vision is for the future. The future is to enhance our quality of life by fostering the growth of a healthy and vibrant community, a strong and diverse economy, and a sustainable environment. And when I read that here, and I look at your strategic objectives, it just flows perfectly. And I looked at Vancouver's, I looked at Toronto's, I was at Calgary, but to me, the Halifax one is very succinct, and it made me feel like, yeah, I know where we're trying to go. The short one you have, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't do much for me. So that's just my 2 cents worth, but I think the Halifax one really nailed it for me. They covered everything you've got in your guiding principles and strategic objectives too, which is what I really liked. So that's my 2 cents. I thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Adams?
I'm happy to nominate a thriving community for all. I think that word extends past beyond what you described. I think it also covers all the other elements of what we have in a community, including the cultural and education components and a whole bunch of other things. And so I think it's a fine word to use. And so that's where my heart is. And I just want to clarify, so are we coming back to the discussion on the other elements in particular?
Yes, we are. We're dealing with each of the three elements.
I'll leave
one by
that
one.
till later then.
All righty. Councillor Hazlett-Deal, then Councillor McNeice, then Councillor Longo, Councillor Grant. The juices are starting to flow. Councillor Hazlett-Deal.
Actually, I'm going to save my comments other than to request, is it possible for the clerk to take some of the comments and put them up so we can track them? Because Councillor Elger made a suggestion, and being able to kind of see them as we're hearing reflections from people would be beneficial to me. Either that or I'm going to be writing like crazy, because it had a lot of very good elements that I like, but I'd like to see it in writing. So if that's a possibility as we facilitate through it, I'd appreciate it.
Councillor, it'd take us a while to get that ready. I think it'd be faster if we just ask Councillor Elger to say it again slowly and we'll all write it down.
If it's in writing, why not put it on the screen?
Actually, Peter's got it. He just pulled it up on his phone right now, which is a lot better than my hand scratching.
Are you suggesting that everybody call it up on their phone?
Well, I thought, do we have a projector? No, I guess we don't. I was thinking we could just kind of put it on and shoot it up on the screen.
That's what I was
Yeah.
saying was, how long do you want to spend doing that?
Oh, we got until 11 or 10:30. This is to me, this is one of the most important.
Would you, thank you, would one of you please send it to Jill by email? Jessica, I'm sorry. Or town clerk. It's on its way to town clerk. Councillor McNeice, would you like to offer your comments during the interval?
Yes, happy to fill in. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm leaning towards vibrant, and I just feel that as you presented the other aspects, I heard vibrant kind of come up a few different times. I didn't sort of hear thriving coming up, but it seems like something that's sort of knitted through. And then, as you described, having more of a community feel and a for all feel. And if I look up vibrant, it talks about being full of energy and enthusiasm. And I think thinking about, we have a term of less than 4 years now, that's something to really work towards at the community level to help them sort of be full of energy, enthusiasm, and sort of prosperity at the community level. So I'm leaning towards vibrant.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longo?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm also leaning to vibrant, because I think it kind of encapsulates thriving. So when I looked up the definition, it's kind of pulsating with life, vigor, activity. So it's, you know, and I think it kind of can include kind of thriving. And then the question about community versus town, I think it is, if anyone's asking, I know we are a town. That's what we call ourselves. So, but I'm also good with community because you don't have to be, it covers everything. So, but I am leaning towards vibrant.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Madam Clerk, I'm pretty sure what you've put up is not the Halifax vision statement, which is what the councillor was suggesting. And I don't think we need, live transcribing of council's remarks. Like, you don't have to put vibrant, all that. We're just trying to get the Halifax vision statement up. And you want to just read it to them? It was short and concise, remember?
Yeah, the future is to enhance our quality of life by fostering the growth of a healthy and vibrant community, a strong and diverse economy, and a sustainable environment.
Councillor, if you would read that about 10 times slower, they could keep up with you. Pretend you're typing it, as you
Okay.
say.
Sorry?
I just resent it, so it's more concise.
I believe in R&D, replicate and duplicate.
We could change our name to
Replicate.
Halifax Town.
No, but, well, Halifax, like Vancouver I looked at, I've got that one, I've got Toronto's, I've got quite a few actually, but
All right, there you go.
there we go.
Take two.
So, and Madam Clerk, could you maybe delete the Halifax mission business from that, because that's not what we're looking at. All righty. Council, you now have 3 candidates. And Councillor Longo, your hand's still up. Are you not done?
Nope, I'm done.
You're done. Councillor Grant, your turn.
Thank you. Yeah, the Halifax people, that guy must have been paid by the word. That is a big mouthful. But nevertheless, a vision statement should be short. So I'm going back to what we've worked hard with the community and the business community, and we've all sat together around tables for hours looking over. And if it's a choice between thriving and vibrant, it's interesting, Councillor Denise and I kind of have opposite views, and thriving seems to encompass vibrant to me. So I'd be thinking thriving is good. I prefer that just because it has that forward momentum to it. It means flourishing. It certainly can encompass the idea of vibrant. So, and also the fact that it's thriving. Like we're getting better and better all the time. So that's my 2 cents. And if we can get rid of that Halifax thing, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Knoll.
Thanks. I'm kind of feeling like I got to pick my favorite child. I like both of them a lot. I like both thriving and vibrant. And I'm wondering, for the sake of one word, can the vision statement be a thriving and vibrant community?
Boom.
Because both words, yeah, they have some similarities, but vibrant means full of energy and enthusiasm and alive, and thriving means, we're successful and all those sorts. And those are both values that I think that I certainly want to see happen. I'm sure everybody around here in the community does too. So I vote for both. Jam them together.
Well, if there was ever testimony to prove that it was a difficult choice, that's what we just heard from you. Thank you very much. Councillor Giddings, your turn.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. I have my kids in my mind here trying to rank them. If you were looking at combining both of them, perhaps I've lived with it for a very long time now. I miss livable in there. Just, between thriving and vibrant, I prefer vibrant. But maybe that could be one of our children, Jeff.
All righty, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Haslett-Deal.
So I know that Councillor Elgers isn't succinct, and yet there are elements in it that I absolutely love. And when you talk about a North Star, I can get up in the morning and look at that and go, let's go to work and let's make it happen. So I really like it a lot. I would like to comment that I think removing livability from the North Star is a problem. It's a problem for me personally, but I think it's a problem for the community as well, that it sends a signal that livability is not at the heart of our decision-making. It's not at the heart of what we achieve to do. I get, and I've lived, the grief that comes with some people who say, well, that decision isn't very livable, councillor. But I'd be prepared to live with that, knowing that we are aspiring to something that people choose to come here because it's a livable community. They choose to come here because we strive for something that's pretty special. And we don't hit the mark all the time, but darn it, we get up to do it every day. And so for me, livable needs to be in the vision in some way, shape, or form. And if it was a vibrant livable community for all, or a thriving livable community for all, I could possibly get my head around that. But I do thank Councillor Elgar, because I think there's a lot of value in something that may not be succinct, but encapsulates a lot of what I heard at that greenhouse event.
All righty, let me check if anybody else wants to be a first-timer before I start down the second-time trail. And can I just offer the thought for consideration that the Halifax vision statement contains things that Deloitte just showed us are just down the page from the vision. And so they are in our strategic plan. So, you know, that we always had, in my 17 years here, we've always had a tendency, people want to put the whole strategic plan in the vision statement instead of read the whole document. And we live in a world and we work in a world where we're actually required to read the whole document. So just a thought, we could have a brief vision statement and these things embedded right after the mission statement and those objectives and values. So anyway, Councillor Grant for a second time. Oh wait, Councillor Chisholm for a first time.
Thank you, Worship. I have difficulty with the wording. It's too wordy. What happens in my experience, in my past experience, when you get into these mission and vision statements, when you start putting too much in, you opt out something. Something's missing. And that's what you create. By having a simplified vision, it engrosses everything that we're doing, and it's embedded in the process all the way through the report. I could just see right now, strong and diverse economy. It doesn't say anything about social. I mean, you can pick this apart very quickly. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. Keep it simple and move forward on it. So I like the vibrant community one, and I would support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, any more first-timers? Going once, going twice. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. You actually, Mr. Mayor, anticipated what I was going to say. A vision statement is supposed to be that, as they said, North Star. It's what you look at and then understand that what's below is everything that you want to have that vision statement fill out. So although there's wonderful things, I suppose, in this, if for the sake of adding more words, it would make more sense then for us to add that to the mission statement, which then breaks out what we mean by this is our vision and this is our mission. And that's pretty much the way it works in marketing, if I recall properly. It's been a few years.
Artie, thank you. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. Through Mayor Burton. I guess I've dealt with a lot of people, and what I've learned is sometimes you have to tell them what you're going to say, and then you say it, and then you have to tell them what you've said in a speech. So, like, I really like their strategic objectives. They're bang on with the vision, but I do feel that the vision, it's like everybody. Nobody reads the whole story. They only read the headline of it. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe the headline is not too long that people's brain can't absorb 2 sentences. But anyway, that's just my view. With Jeff, we can put in healthy, vibrant, thriving, and livable.
community. That would do it right there for me.
All righty, thank you, everybody. Well, there you go, Deloitte. There's your takeaways. I have no more volunteers with comments for you. Would you like to move on to the next bit? Oh, wait. Councillor Lischina.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess not a comment, but I thought we'd all get to pick one, no? Because I didn't pick my hand up because I didn't comment, but I like the thriving community for all, because thriving also means a healthy community, flourishing community, successful community. So all of those things encompass it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Vibrant.
Councillor Duddick?
Vibrant.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Shi? Okay, thank you. Is it, I don't know, I didn't keep track.
Just give yours, just let everybody say their stuff.
Well, maybe if I may, through the chair, just reflect on what I think we've heard and play back some of our commentary. Our experience, and I think best advice, would be along the lines of less is better than more. There is a tendency to include too many adjectives in these statements, and I think as soon as you have more than one comma, you've probably got too many adjectives. I think that the conversation around, could we have both? We anticipated that reaction, and that may be a way to go if that was the will of council. I think from the tally sheet that I have been keeping, vibrancy appeared to be the preferred word. So I think that would be my summation of what we've heard, and we'll take that away with staff and come back to you.
I realize that I held back my opinion. I don't expect mine to change your tally, but I agree with Councillor Hazlitt-Thiel. I regret seeing Livable leave the stage, and thriving or vibrant, as she said, with Livable both work. I think I lean towards thriving simply because as we raise our families, the number one wish that we have for our children is that they thrive and survive. So, but I leave that aside. Those are my contributions. Thanks, everybody. Shall we move on to mission now? Is that your pleasure, Deloitte?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that council might give us some indication of direction.
Oh, all right. Councillor Nanda.
I was just going to say mine since we all said it, so I'll go with vibrant as well.
All right. Council, Councillor Nanda, would you like to move that we recommend vibrant to the Deloitte team? And who wants to second that? Councillor Chisholm? All those in favor of recommending vibrant to Deloitte, please raise your hands. 1, 2. No, that's not what she said. Councillor Elgar wants to amend Councillor Nanda's motion to add livable, or, okay.
What would we do straw poll and then make a motion? What would we do straw poll?
Straw poll, because you're not allowed to. It's illegal.
Conversation, it's not binding.
It's a council meeting. It's illegal under the Municipal Act. Madam CAO. We have by the way, we have a procedure that will see us through this, and we just have to follow it. Madam CAO.
So, Mayor, members of council, I'm glad where you're going in terms of making a decision, because I think at this point in time, we really do need to choose a vision statement, because the vision statement and then again, the mission statement is going to drive the rest of it. So we've heard lots of comment, you have as well, but we need a decision from you. So if that means a vote, then that would be very helpful.
Councils only make decisions by votes. There's an act, it tells us. So the vote on the floor, if you permit, is by Councillor Elgar, seconded by I can't remember who, was it you? Who down here wants to second? Well, Councilor Hazardil, you're the one who spoke in favor of keeping livable. Councilor Elgar is moving an amendment to add livable. Will you be his second? She moved vibrant. So he's helping you get what you want. You're seconding it. May I put the vote? All those in favor of... I'm going to tell you. The words were about to leave my mouth. The vote is to approve or not the amendment by Councilor Elgar to add the word livable to be a companion to vibrant. And if that passes or fails, we will then move to a vote on vibrant. Are we all, is everybody happy? Is there any objection to adding livable? Raise your hand. Okay. Not in favor of adding livable? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was close, but livable won. Can I put the vote? Can I? Can I put a vote on vibrant? So now you're voting on vibrant and livable, because the main motion's been amended. Everybody clear? Any objection to choosing vibrant and livable? Okay. It's close, Councillor Adams, but the vibrant and livable wins. Are you guys okay?
I'm delighted because there's no comma. No comma, so I'm delighted. No comma.
So I think we just added livable to your nomination of the vibrant one. No
Yes.
commas required.
Yes.
Everybody clear? All right, next.
So we'll move on to the mission statement, which may or may not prove to be as controversial. Are we going to get the presentation back up? Okay. Maybe I'll just reiterate the comments that I made in my opening remarks about what the mission is. This is very much what you do as an entity. It's very much what administration does to meet the objectives as defined by council. I think you will see a number of the elements in here that Councillor Elgar had surfaced in the conversation around the vision. So here's the slide. And again, we would just welcome comments or questions from each of you as you see fit.
Okay, now, because of this wanting to move everything up to the level we're at, phenomenon that you and I have both spoken, and others have spoken about here, do you want to just quickly flash forward to remind people what's in the next two levels, the strategic, these that you showed us? Just a refresher.
Yeah, of course. So following the mission statement, we have the guiding principles, which are leadership, inclusivity, excellence, sustainability, quality of life, and fiscal responsibility. And then further, the strategic priorities, and I'll just move it to the strategic objectives so you can see everything together. Again, here's the map of the strategic priorities and strategic objectives.
Okay, so maybe just go back to the strategic priorities because they only kind of faded in and out really quickly. So we can see here that I would submit we've captured Halifax.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now we can go back to the mission. And Councillor Lischina, do you have a preference about which of these two?
I'd like to make a motion for the second one.
The second one. Councillor. Oh. Oh, okay, fine. So Councillor Lischina has done us the service of moving the second one, and Councillor Chisholm has seconded it. He's the one I caught first. Can I put the vote? Is there an well, let me call the vote first.
They don't know how you're going to vote.
Does anyone wish to object to that? Oh, congratulations, we made a decision.
Congratulations.
We do have commas on this one, though.
It's true.
Well, I guess council likes commas, I guess, is what we have to conclude. So now, Deloitte, you're looking for some kind of comment on these guiding principles. And I believe what they'd like to hear is that if this has caught what we want for guiding principles, and the way to test that is to say if there's anything that you'd like to add. Anybody? Councillor Elgar, are you moving that we endorse these? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longo. Is there any objection to that motion? Congratulations, Councillor Elgar. Council has made a decision. All right, Mr. and Ms. Deloitte, next.
Okay, moving on to the strategic priorities.
All right.
And so it may be most useful for us to use the strategic objectives slide. The strategic priorities are along the top: growth management, community belonging, environmental sustainability, and accountable government. And then you can see the strategic objectives under each of the strategic priorities. So if that's clear for council, we can accept comment on this piece of the framework, both the strategic priorities and also the strategic objectives.
I have an indication from Councillor Grant that he would like to move we endorse this. Is there a seconder? Councillor Longo. Going once, going twice for comment. Councillor Adams.
So broadly, I think this is good. I think there's one thing that we missed, and it's the concept of attainable housing. We talked about it a lot. It showed up in our surveys, and it's just completely not there. And I think we either need to incorporate it within the complete communities section there, or somewhere in the growth management side, maybe in the economic development or something, but that concept is missing. And so
Well, could I suggest that it belongs in complete communities?
Yes, that was my first thought, is that it should go there. So if it said design of community satisfies daily living needs for safe, connected communities, including attainable housing for all or something like that.
Through the chair, if I may, it's a great point, Councillor Adams, and one that we'd actually surfaced ourselves and had a lot of discussion around.
You have to let me hear them.
We too would concur that it fits in complete communities. The question for us, and this might be something to think about, given the multitude of actors that are involved in the housing file, the extent to which you want to formally call out the word, given your role in the process. And as I say, there's many other actors that you don't actually have jurisdiction over. So completely hear the feedback. We had a lot of discussion on this ourselves, and that was where we felt it fit. But again, happy to have the feedback and dialogue as to whether you formally want to use the word housing.
So your worship, assuming I still have the floor, I do think we should have the word in there. I recognize that we don't control everything and that it requires partnership, but so does our infrastructure. So when we talk about roads, we talk about bridges, we talk about transit, it requires partnership. We don't get to do any of that all by ourselves. And so if you look at virtually any one of these components, it's partnership. Climate change, partnership. We don't do that all by ourselves. We play a teeny weeny little part in it. And so I would say that this absolutely should be in there.
Councillor, are you suggesting that it read, comma, with attainable housing for all?
Yes. Sorry.
That is the
question. Can you reword, can you re-say, I'm not sure if I clearly understood what you just said.
Well, Councillor, I just invite you to look at the, let's call it a sentence, design of community satisfies daily living needs for safe, connected communities attainable for all, it reads now. And if you put housing as a modifier of, if you put housing in, where does it go?
I was going to add the word including attainable housing for all.
Okay, so, but as I understand it right now, attainable for all is modifying backwards everything in the preceding sentence. Why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes to wordsmith, and we'll roll down the road here and come back to you. Madam CAO.
If it would assist at all, there still are actions that go below this. And we had a long conversation about how because housing certainly is an issue, and we have elements of housing that we deal with. And it is related to the design of communities. Actions related, for example, we're doing a housing strategy coming forward in terms of our role in delivering on the housing. That will be coming to you in July probably. Those actions are going to be listed in there. So it's going to be clear that our elements relative to housing will be listed as part of the actions that are there, if that assists at all. So the housing piece is not completely missing.
Your Worship, I've still got the floor. Not sure I do, but
I'm happy to recognize you.
Thank you. I would say that this is important to recognize for the community. So the community has told us that attainable housing is important, and I think we need to recognize it a little bit higher up in our strategic plan, that's all.
All right. We'll turn you back to your wordsmithing, and we'll roll on down to Councillor Hazlitt-Thiel.
I have a couple of comments. One, I can relate to what Councillor Adams is saying, and I also think that consideration that's a lot of pressure to do that right now on the spot. I thought part of what this was is to give you comments and feedback, and you hear loud and clear how important it is, and there is that nuance. Personally, I think it's for you to come back to us and tell us how would we incorporate that, the importance of that in it, and make it not seem like an afterthought, would just be my 2 cents worth. So to my other comments, one of my concerns is under growth management. It doesn't reflect the importance. So I get under community belonging, there's this complete communities piece. Part of growth management is thinking about the welcoming and the livability of these in the growth management. It's not an engineering. It is a integrated cross-functional effort, and we seem to have focused on infrastructure and transportation and the economic side, but growth management is also about people. And I'm not seeing that in there, and that's a concern for me. I think you've done a great job under community belonging, where we engage people, and I'm sure someone's going to say, well, that covers it off, Councillor, but the biggest hurdle we face is managing growth, and how we do it, and again, making it not feel like an afterthought. That I think there's some opportunity in that. The other piece that I'm very happy to see environmental sustainability, and in particular, integrating green spaces and parks throughout our community. I do like the word local parks, no surprise to anybody, but I'm glad to see it there. And I'm also very happy to see the service excellence, because I just wonder about the digitizing, and is that going to be in the actions that come out afterwards? And so now that I've said that aloud and I see some nods, then those are some of my comments.
Thank you.
All right. Let's turn back to Councillor Adams and see how many words he's written.
Your Worship, I come back to modifying the last piece of it to read connected communities, including attainable housing for all, recognizing that the term attainable is kind of all by itself. But if council would prefer, I'd be happy for it to come back to us at the next round with somebody else doing some wordsmithing. I don't need to wordsmith something on the floor.
All right. Thank you for that. I think council will accept that suggestion, and we'll leave it to staff and our consultants to figure out where to put attainable housing. Because the word with might say, I mean, including could be covered by with, it's shorter, but anyway, let's hand it off to them. Even though we're putting it off?
Yeah, I still like.
Well, Council has it deal. Oh, okay. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton, I really like where Councillor Adams would like to go, but I'm worried we're setting ourselves up for something we have no control over. The province's the household income, it used to be 30% of your household income can be used for housing. And that meant whether you're buying a house or renting a house. What has happened at the province now? They've changed it to it's 80% of the average cost of a house in a municipality in Oakville. And it, you know, that, we can't do anything about that. And I just feel we're going to fail the people because we do not price the houses. And I'm trying to figure out how we get out of this. If we put in like something to the degree possible, because our hands are tied by the provincial legislation, which has changed it from the 30%, which was reasonable, of a household income, to now they're saying, oh, 80% of the average value of a house.
Okay.
People are having trouble, so
all right.
I don't know. I'd love to put it in, but I'm worried that we cannot deliver.
All right, so thank you for that, and that'll be added to what the staff and the consultants take away. And Councillor Adams, you want to put another word
I just want to clarify. So I completely recognize that there's these planning words around the meaning of affordable housing in rent geared to income and stuff like that when you get into all of that nitty-gritty stuff. And yes, the province is playing with the terms affordable and attainable and what they mean for whether development charges are applicable or not, and all these kinds of things. And so I'm not playing that game. I'm not trying to use the planning words. I'm trying to use words that the average person would understand as, can I get a house? Can I get a place to live? And so I don't care if the word's attainable housing or affordable housing, but it needs to be a word that means that the town of Oakville will play its part in trying to help provide the community with housing that they can get. That's what I'm trying to get to. And so I completely appreciate that we only play part of the game.
Okay, so,
just as we do for all these other things.
all right. So we're clear that these words on both sides of the table that are all driving towards the same goal have been heard, and you people are going to wrestle with it, and we're good with that? Okay, then if we're okay with that, then we're turning to Councillor McNeice and then Councillor Duddick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I won't go into Councillor Adams' recommendation, but I do support that. I do agree. Attainable housing is going to be one of our biggest challenges, and we should hold ourselves accountable for what we can do. So I just want to pick up, I believe where Councillor Hassett-Thiel was going with growth management, is that we talk about many aspects, but the way we do this, we can also do it in a way that builds community. And I think that's important to be recognized there. I think community belonging is a little bit different. And that's making sure existing communities are complete, engaging residents, things like that. But I think as part of the growth, we got to be very conscious of how we design these new communities with, thinking about how we're bringing the communities together. I mean, we're doing the transportation, the infrastructure, the ECDEV, but yeah, so I just wanted to rise that up. I believe that's where Councillor Hassett-Thiel was going, and I'm in support of something related to building community under growth management. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I agree with you. Looking at this, the label is community belonging, and the first item is engaging residents. These are things about how we live together, right? And complete communities, as written, is not about how we live together. This is about how we design communities. And that is, as the councillors have pointed out, very much a growth management, planning and development activity. And it almost feels like you ran out, you only wanted to have 2 or 3 under each one, and you have 4, so you moved it over where there was room on the green one, or the light green one, perhaps. So maybe you could go back to the drawing board on that. Maybe there's, engaging residents would fit under accountable government, and then you'd have 3 instead of 4. Now, Councillor Duddick, unless Councillor McNeice is not done?
I guess my concern is trying to keep it short and simple. And I appreciate the sentiment and the rationale behind adding those other things. But I do agree with the CAO about the actions that fall out from these strategic objectives. And that should be captured in that. And when we say attainable for all, we could be talking about accessibility, we could be talking about seniors, not necessarily just the housing component. So as I say, I'd rather see it come out somewhere else, keep things simple so one flows from the other.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Knoll, Councillor McNeice, your hand's back up. Are you wanting back in? Okay, Councillor Knoll, it's your turn.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, I want to say I support what you suggested in terms of the complete communities piece going to growth management and what Councillor McNeice was talking about, so thank you for raising that. Just on the housing thing, I'm perfectly happy to hear recommendations that come back from the consultants on how to deal with this, but I'm going to have to be sold on this idea when it comes back, because like Councillor Elgar and others, I'm concerned about straying out of our lane here. And yes, there's things that we can do to be supportive to attain affordable housing or housing for all, but it's not something currently within our lane. The province has been very clear on that. Housing is a regional responsibility. I'd rather not put something in a strategic objective that we're ultimately, I hate to say this, we're going to fail on at the end of the day, as in terms of the actions we can take. The affordability of homes is going to be driven by the economy, by provincial policy, by what the region's able to do, and I'm just not sure we're going to be able to have enough direct input into that to really make it a strategic objective that we can live up to. Yes, that's true that we don't totally control climate change, but we have a very clear role in contributing to climate change. We have a very clear role in contributing to transportation issues. Our role in attainable housing, unless you folks have a better idea than I do, it's not very clear how we as a local municipality can have an impact on that. So I would rather keep it in, as suggested by the CAO, in the actions that we can support other levels of government in their initiatives, but I personally don't want to see it in objectives. I think it's we're straying out of our lane, and I think that's a dangerous thing to do.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. And when you do return, perhaps we could see the build out of all of these points as well. Yeah, I think it would really help the conversation a bit more to understand what's going on underneath the surface, as it were, so that we've got a better shot at understanding why the wording is the way it is, and if there's something we thought was missed, oh, it's actually captured down here, much like the discussion we had about vision and mission statements.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McNeice.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one last comment. We haven't talked about the environmental sustainability. So one word I typically see or like to use in that area is the concept of resiliency. And I think it is different. You know, we've got GHG reductions, managing environmental risk, there's adaptation, but I think resiliency is maybe a design piece in that you can design something to withstand sort of highs and lows, and I'm not sure if that came up in your consultations at all, but it's not sort of, that concept's not sort of jumping out at me unless I maybe missed it somewhere else, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor McNeice. If we change the word adaptation, climate change, mitigation, and resilience, or resiliency, take your pick, would you be satisfied?
I would turn it over to the consultant, maybe adaptation's there for a reason or something, but just resilience is usually what I see, and I know the City of Toronto uses that a lot. A lot of foundation support resiliency and things like that, and there's competitions around it. So maybe we could just get some feedback from our consultants.
All righty. Yeah. We're Councilor McNeese is sparing us a vote on this, and he's content with laying the suggestion out for consideration by staff and consultants. Am I right?
I can speak quickly to the wording through the chair to Councillor McNeese. When we look at some of the actions regarding climate change mitigation, mitigation and adaptation are words that are commonly used to categorize some of those different action areas. So I would recommend maintaining mitigation and adaptation. Resiliency is one of the approaches to adapting or to adapting to climate change. It may be a good word to add into the wording underneath that strategic objective in some way. So we can work on the wordsmithing, but I would suggest that it's an appropriate word for that area.
Well, you may have made everybody happy already just with that. I see smiles.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. I don't know if we need to vote on adding or anything, but it seems like we're okay with that. Yeah.
All right, Council, I'm gonna suggest that we don't want to vote on this because we've contented ourselves with handing out ideas and we want to see something come back. And is Deloitte and staff okay with that?
Would it be possible to support in principle, but with the understanding that we will be coming back with some adjustments?
All right, then.
Because the reason for the suggestion, Chair, is that we will be building the key performance indicators from this information and also the actions. So Council's comments tonight will feed into what we bring back in that more detailed level and also in terms of key performance indicators. So we need to know that for the most part that this is a stable situation to be able to develop those pieces.
Okay, we'll get you a vote on that. I'd like to propose a motion for someone to move, but I have hands up, so I'm going to wait until I've heard from the hands. Councillor Adams and then Councillor Haslett-Deal.
Well, I'm looking at the recommendation number 2 in the agenda, and it actually reads that the draft strategic plan framework be endorsed in principle, including the vision, mission, guiding principles, strategic priorities, and strategic objectives, subject to additional council input. And that's, I think, what we're doing right now. So I think if we approve that recommendation, I think we're giving you what you want, which is we've talked about it, we've given you input, and away you go.
I sense that council agrees. For my part, I would like to be assured that one of the things you'll consider is reducing them to 3 by putting the engaging residents under accountable government and complete communities over into growth management. And so I'm getting nods all around, so I think we can move on then, all right? Next. Oh, sorry. Janet? Councillor Haslett-Deal.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. First of all, I want to thank Councillor McNeese and yourself. I think complete communities moving over makes a lot of sense to me. Where I might differ, though, is I think community belonging is a very powerful statement to make to our community. And you made a point earlier about changing some of the language. It's not a town, it's about a community. I'm certainly, there's just something about that resonates. Some of the values that I feel are important to residents, and that whole welcoming piece that. So it may be that it gets covered off under accountable government, but my 2 cents worth, I think that it's a powerful statement. It should be there, and if it stands alone, that's what we do, and that's not, I don't know if that's such a bad thing.
Okay, Councillor, thank you for that. And your 2 cents has persuaded me. Leave it alone. And, you know, we could replace the complete communities block with the words I have heard often from newcomers, which is, so the way it works, what I'm grappling towards here is maybe in addition to engaging residents, we should have something about welcoming newcomers. So let's leave all that for everybody to work with. And now maybe we'll move on. Or not.
If I may make one brief comment on that. One something to keep in mind as we look at the strategic priorities and strategic objectives is that it's a bit of an illusion that they're separate and separated. There are always interconnections. And so as we look at those strategic priorities, growth management, community belonging, environmental sustainability, and accountable government, typically we will see some crossover between the different areas as we move forward in the planning. And sometimes we can illustrate that with some kind of a graphic that shows how these 4 or 3 areas are connected together. So that may be something for council's consideration as well.
All right. Maybe the next time we look at this, we could have a long sheet of paper that had vision, missions, the third thing, and then this all on the one page. Because I do know that as I look at only one thing, tunnel vision sets in and I start wanting to, whereas if it's right on the page in front of me, I go, oh, it's there. So that maybe that'll help in terms of the next time we look at this. Everybody, lots of head nodding. It's not a vote, but it's an indication. So, is there anything else you need?
Well, that would conclude our objectives for this presentation, so thank you.
And do you feel like you achieved your objectives?
Very much so.
Oh, good. We got it. Hey, we passed. All right, then, thank you very much. Are there any members of council who'd like to offer any concluding remarks? Are there 2 members of council who'd like to move and second the indicated resolution? Councillor Dudek and Councillor Lischina, thank you very much. Any objection? Madam Clerk, there's no objection. That carries unanimously. You know what? The only thing left to detain us is consideration and reading of bylaws. Councillor Hazard-Thiel?
Can I just ask one question, is when you come back, will there be any barometer about how the public feels about where we landed tonight? Because the time frame for you to come back, by the time you write the report and give it to us, hopefully a few more days ahead of time, it's tight. So what barometer is there that this is resonating with the public?
Yeah, thank you for the question through the chair to Councillor Hazard-Thiel. There is an open public comment period when the draft plan is presented. And so that will be a time when the public can provide comment and on the details of the plan. And there would still be opportunity for revisions at that point before it's finalized.
Thanks very much.
All right, could I have a mover and seconder for consideration reading the bylaws? Councillor McNeice and Councillor Shi, thank you. Any objection? There being none, the bylaws are considered read and passed. And that bylaw is the confirming bylaw only. And that ends the work of this meeting. Thank you very much for all the contributions and the great discussion. It's been terrific working with you, and the meeting is done.